Mr. James Scarlett, we go again.
Good afternoon, Gav. What's been going on in your life this week? Or just in the world in general?
Kneecap, mate. Nothing but kneecap. Now, I've been looking forward to this podcast as much as I would look forward to listening to Manowar's back catalogue. I mean, it's like how we have managed to get ourselves entangled in a kneecap conversation for now 2 podcasts in a row. There will be people coming to this episode who have never heard Two Promoters One pod before, probably coming just through the Kneecap Association or the clickbait that's been online. And just to give you some sort of context what this is, we are 2 music promoters. My name's Gavin McAnally. I organise Damnation Festival, the biggest indoor metal festival in the UK. If you come here and just as a Kneecap fan think about it as like horrible death metal, probably not up your street. My co-host here, James Scarlett, organises Art Tangent Festival, and the reason we're talking about Kneecap today, 2,000 Trees, of which Kneecap are headlining a day. And we usually have a good laugh about the inner workings of the music industry, what agents are like, what it's like to put contracts together, what it's like to book bands, what it's like to fucking book portaloos, and the people who fill those portaloos. And it's usually a bit of a jolly, but this week's got a little bit serious. And there is a lot going on with Kneecap, which James is just about to talk us through from the perspective of an organiser who has them on his festival. So, James, as long as you like, I'll butt my nose in whenever I feel like I've got something to offer. The floor is yours, sir.
Thanks, mate. Okay, so for anyone who didn't listen to us last week, just a quick reminder on, there's been a lot's happened in the 7 days, so in the last 7 days. So before that, Kneecap played Coachella. They had... The short version is that there was a video screen on the stage that said "Fuck Israel, Free Palestine," and a lot of people got very excitable about that, not least Sharon Osbourne, and it was quite lively. But to say that last week pales into insignificance compared to this week would be a mild understatement. So it's gone off, and just to set the scene about, we're here to talk from our point of view. This is our podcast that talks about behind the scenes of the world of promoting. As Gav said, Kneecap are headlining Trees. So I just want to remind everyone that I'm not here to wade in on the politics. But at some point this week, I think on Monday, it started to feel like 2,000 Trees was moving towards the actual news, like actual news, not like rock news. And it's been weird. It's been a weird week for me. I had like a vague buzz about that. Like I was on high alert, but quite enjoying it in a way. Like Kneecap are only playing 2,000 Trees, Glastonbury, Transmit, Wide Awake and Green Man and the Eden Project. That was the only shows they had announced in the UK. And what's happened in that week is, and I'll talk in detail about this, but most of those shows have been targeted by MPs and other groups to get Kneecap removed from the bill. And like, I've got people saying to me, "You're not going to talk about it on the podcast. It's too much of a hot potato. Don't do it." And I'm like, what is the point in having a behind the scenes podcast if you can't tell people behind the scenes? I was at the school gates this morning, dropping my son off, and 2 different people asked me about Kneecap. Yesterday, I got an email from the BBC or from our press guys saying the BBC want you to go on and be interviewed about Kneecap. And the reason I declined that is because I'm scared about what might happen if I say the wrong thing on the BBC. We've had some death threats this week have come into 2,000 Trees. Not specific death threats that are targeted at any one person, but death threats all the same. So it started to feel like really real. And like, you literally cannot make this shit up, can you? It's like, it was only last year we were talking about Drag Queen Story Hour and how all the shit that we got in with the kind of fascists then. And now here we are again.
And to be clear, so what happened, for those who don't know anything about that, is the right-wing lobby, who aren't into any sort of gender equality or politics at all, found out there was a drag queen artist at story time and then doxed you. Basically, they got your address, phone number, and started threatening you, your family, and other organisers. So you've just been through this within the last year for very, very different set of circumstances.
Yeah, and so you're kind of on high alert. And there's another thing that happened, which you know about, Gav, which I'm not allowed to talk about. But we've had a couple of things that have been big and stressful, where your address is being shared and people are talking about you. And I mean, my main reason for not doing a BBC interview is because I don't want to cause stress to like my wife and my mum and dad, really. My ego was desperate to go on the BBC and talk about what I do as a job, because it's fucking be awesome, wouldn't it? But it's just a bit too scary. So just going back, so that's kind of the background from like me as a promoter. So what happened with Kneecap this week is once that Fuck Israel Free Palestine thing came out and was in the press and Sharon Osbourne had sort of amplified it, then people went digging for shit, as they do. So they went digging, they found a couple of videos that have got Kneecap in hot water. One allegedly says, the only good Tory is a dead Tory, kill your local MP. And the other one says, up Hamas, up Hezbollah. Now, we'll come on to Kneecap's response to that. But literally, when that came out, the entire world has waded in and has continued to wade in. And I'm going to give you a quick bullet point list of things that have happened. First of all, Prime Minister Keir Starmer said, or a spokesman for him said, he did not think individuals expressing those views should be receiving government funding. Then the Irish Prime Minister called on them to urgently clarify the comments. The First Minister of Scotland, John Swinney, he backed calls for them to be kicked off Glasgow's Transmit Festival. Excuse me. A Labour MP has written a letter to Glastonbury asking them, a quite strongly worded letter asking them to be removed from Glastonbury. They were kicked off 2 German festivals. And I think they booked 3 replacement gigs, which have now also been cancelled. It's hard to keep up with this constant rolling story, so I think that's true. And as of yesterday, Tuesday, they were removed from the Eden Project show. And I saw about an hour ago that the Tory leader has said that they should be banned full stop.
Just nice people.
Kneecap should just be banned. Yeah,
Just
banned in general. So pretty mad. And then also, following on from that, the daughter of David Amess, who was an MP, he was murdered when he was an MP, his daughter came out and condemned the band. And then Kneecap, so at this point, everyone's like, bloody hell, what's going to happen? Like, my phone is just blowing up. All people ask me is, what's going on with Kneecap? What's going on with Kneecap? What's going on with Kneecap? So I had a few behind-the-scenes conversations with my fellow organisers and also with the booking agent for Kneecap, which I'm not going to talk about those conversations. But then eventually Kneecap put a statement out, and I think I feel like it's worth reading. So it says, they want you to believe words are more harmful than genocide. Establishment figures desperate to silence us have combed through hundreds of hours of footage and interviews, extracting a handful of words from months or years ago to manufacture moral hysteria. Let us be unequivocal. We do not and have never supported Hamas or Hezbollah. We condemn all attacks on civilians, always. It is never okay. We know this more than anyone, given our nation's history. We also reject any suggestions that we would seek to incite violence against any MP or individual, ever. An extract of footage deliberately taken out of context is now being exploited and weaponised as if it were a call to action. This distortion is not only absurd, it is a transparent effort to derail the conversation. All 2 million Palestinian people in Gaza are currently being starved to death by Israel. At least 20,000 children in Gaza have been killed. The British government continues to supply arms, etc., etc. It goes on, talks about Keir Starmer, and it basically says this is where the real outrage should be directed towards. It then moves on to it says, to the Amos and Cox families, we send our heartfelt apologies. We never intended to cause you hurt. Kneecap's message has always been and remains one of love, inclusion and hope. No smear campaign will change that. I didn't read the full statement, but that gives you a good. I thought it was an excellent apology. Actually, my personal opinion is, but Keir Starmer did not, because he said it wasn't a real apology. Now, I'm not here to give my opinion, but it did sound like a real apology to me. The husband of murdered MP Joe Cox said it was half an apology. And so I guess everyone can have their own opinion. The last thing I'll say on what's going on is that yesterday, the Kneecap manager went on RTE Primetime, Primetime is the flagship current affairs programme of Ireland's national broadcaster RTE. And he said that moral hysteria had taken hold and that the band are being held to a higher moral standard than politicians, which I think is worth repeating. he says the band are being held to a higher moral standard than politicians. He claimed there was a concerted campaign against the group, and it is solely about deplatforming artists. It is telling the next young bands that through the music industry and through the political class that you cannot speak about Palestine. So that's quite a lot.
That is quite a lot, and that brings us up to today and the background. So if you're coming into this, that's the first time you really heard about Kneecap. And believe me, there's been a few comments I've read this week of people that are really just coming across or only listening to Kneecap for the first time, or they haven't really been on their radar. So you might be one of those people. That's where we're at. A lot to digest, a lot to take in. I mean, a few things. I mean, from a personal point of view, I'm sitting here, I'm wearing a Kneecap t-shirt today for this podcast, but my brother got me as a gift at the show that I went to see them at the Barrowlands. And there was a wobble at some point during this week when the Up Hamas claims came out. I was a bit like, I am not a cancel culture guy. I'm not chasing folk around the internet saying why you shouldn't listen to Pantera or Tack or whoever else, and I wouldn't have done that to Kneecap regardless of what that was. But I would have felt uncomfortable myself walking around in Kneecap merchandise if they had come out and said, yes, our position is we do support Hamas. So I'm glad that it came out and clarified that. That was important to me. The other point about it, kill your local MP, kill your Tory, I totally agree with their point of just taking that out of context. When you say, arm the homeless, eat the rich, fucking all cops are bastards, a lot of stuff is not meant to be taken literally. It's not like going eat the rich. You know, it's a campaign slogan, you know, and when you like kill your local MP, I mean, is it catchy? No, not really. Is it maybe probably a bit insensitive, especially to families who have lost loved ones? Sure, but it's not meant, as they say, it's not a call to action. They don't mean going to arm yourself with a knife and go and find a local politician to kill. It's more about the political system. And the people that are complaining about it, they know that. I'm surprised that of the two clips that they were able to go back and find over the period of years to try and hang Kneecap with, that it was the kill your MP or kill your local politician, the one that they stuck on, and not the Hamas point, which they've clarified. I mean, if it was said from stage, their position as of right of today in their statement is they do not support Hamas and Hezbollah, and I'm willing to take that as at face value. I mean, they seem like the types, if they did believe in those organisations, terrorist groups, whatever you want to call them, then they would just come out and say it. So it's I hate the fact that all this was like the Johnson, from my point of view, transmits the Premier Festival in Scotland. It was previously Tina Park, it was a replacement of Tina Park. DF Concerts, the major promoters up here, are the guys behind it. And Kneecap are on the main stage, and then our First Minister's acting like if it was such a moral outrage, all that footage was there. These things, I mean, what it took the Americans to tell us. It took an appearance at Coachella to flag it up to everyone else. It's like, I hate that. I hate that the whole country, and every country's got a problem with racism, and then it takes the Americans to tell us, oh, Black Lives Matters, and then we start the street parades. Every country's got a problem with sexual violence towards women. In America with Me Too, and then suddenly we just follow the American lead, and this is just another example of, here's Kneecap now being called out at Coachella by Sharon Osbourne. The next thing you know, you've got fucking the First Minister of Scotland following our lead and asking for it to begin. And then what's after this? And Kneecap get pulled for transmit. And then what have you got? Bob Villains next for saying there's no such thing about only good pig's a dead pig. And then after that, is we're going through the Eminem lyrics and saying, well, when we're singing these words in Eminem lyrics, and we actually talk about going out and raping our mothers, and it starts getting farcical very, very quickly. And as we talk right now, Kneecap are still on transmit, and I hope that that's the case, that they stay there, because it's going to be a difficult spot for not.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not like a musical historian, and I wish I had better information, but this mirrors all the sort of moral panic around like Ozzy and Judas Priest and all that, you know, and they were going through different bands' lyrics and being like, if you play the song backwards,
they turned out to be fucking wrong in anyway in the end, but at the point when it was like, blame everyone, getting anything happened to anyone, it was Marilyn Manson's fault.
Yeah. So it's like another version of that, I think.
I mean, in terms of the Scottish bit, which like it's the day before. I believe it's the day before, or is it the day after Trees?
I think it might be the day after.
So they were due to play on July 11th, which is its own ramifications in Scotland. I mean, in the July the 12th, we have quite a large Protestant / Rangers population here, and they will be out on the Orange Walks. And people have made a big deal about the fact that Kneecap are going to be playing at this Premier Festival in Glasgow the day before the Orange Walks take place. I mean, again, fucking people marching in the streets celebrating the slaughter of Catholics, and yeah, what's John Swinney saying about that? It's it's just the mental gymnastics you have to do to get yourself so worked up about what's happened with Kneecap is a little bizarre. And if we go down that route, it's going to be tough, because you can start unpicking the whole lineup of what everyone's done and what any artist ever said at any point in any interview. What I would suggest, DF Concerts, this is one of these behind the scenes promoter things. DF Concerts aren't actually Kneecap's promoter in the Scotland. It's Triple G, and a mate of mine, Johnny Almond, is the guy who had them at the garage and then had them at the Barrowlands. And I spoke to Kneecap, a couple of guys from Kneecap after that show, and they're like, he's like, you must be ready for the Hydro now. You must be ready for the Hydro now. Sold it 2 nights at the Barrowlands. People fucking desperate for tickets. Like, I don't know, it's like maybe we love the Barrowlands. We maybe come back and do more nights at the Barrowlands. Like, now, if they'd come off the Transmit lineup, Johnny has to see if there's any availability at the Hydro. Now, I checked the dates, and there is someone playing on the 11th, and then they're doing yours on the 10th. So they can, the night after Billie Eilish, and then the night before whoever is doing the night at Trees, and then whoever's doing it the night at the 11th. There's a 9th, is currently no one there. So there's your plan, Johnny. If they come off the Transmit lineup with the publicity behind them, let's get booked in for the Hydro on the 9th of July.
Amazing. Well planned. I mean, did you notice that so Eden Sessions pulled the Kneecap show? So that's like the Eden Project in Cornwall. They pulled it. They got a load of shit for it. Their socials are just full of people saying that they're cowards, essentially. And they announced a Portsmouth replacement show within an hour. So their Kneecap and their agent are moving pretty quickly when things like this happen. Which kind of brings me back to, we've talked about what's happened, and now just going back to the 2000 Trees sort of view of that and my view of all of this. And I think I should make it quite clear that people like to think organisations have one opinion. Now, that's clearly not the case. If you're an independent business owned by 6 mates and brothers, and there isn't one opinion, right? We started the festival with like these big ideas about doing something better than Live Nation, but that's the most political we get. Like, I think anyone who's listened to this podcast probably knows I'm a bit of a lefty, but all the Trees organisers believe different things about different issues. And honestly, I don't know what most of them think about Israel and Palestine, because we don't sit around in the pub talking about it. I've never sat around in the pub with Gav talking about it either. I could guess what people think. So then you're like, well, where does this leave 2000 Trees? And I saw someone asking on social media, are 2000 Trees going to bottle it? Which made me fucking roll my eyes and be like, for fuck's sake. Because we've had death threats, so I'm not sure I'd call it bottling it. But Kneecap are 100% going to be at 2000 Trees.
Well, before we do that, because I sent you a voice note about that, the difference between you being the face of it, the organiser, the guy with your team paying the money towards Kneecap, when does it become that the decision is no longer yours? That if you have the local authority saying, we will pull your licence, if you've got the landowner, the farm owner saying, we will cancel the show, if you have local suppliers, sponsors saying, we're going to pull out, at what point does it get to the point of, is the festival going to get cancelled and torched with your belief that I am doing this with Kneecap? Or at some point do you have the conversation with the agent, the band, guys, I would never cancel you, but my festival is being cancelled on my behalf?
No, I mean, I was about to caveat it. Now someone can clip it because you interrupted me, so it will just say they're 100% playing 2000 Trees.
You should have seen it just so, I'm sure, adamant that this is happening. Right, okay, no one's clipping it, on you go.
Look, Of course, there are possibilities in the future that I can't foresee. In the situation it currently stands in, with all the news that's happened, and certain events have been cancelled in Germany and Cornwall, and there has not been a flicker of us thinking about pulling Kneecap. We haven't even discussed it. It's not. I spoke to the booking agent twice. We never mentioned this. Any idea that Kneecap wouldn't play 2000 Trees. I speak to my business partners, friends regularly. We haven't mentioned it. It's like they're playing 2000 Trees. I can't see the future. I suspect that this story might have. Every time I think it's got to the end, the Kneecap Coachella blow up. I keep thinking it's going to end, and then you go online and the Tory leader has called for them to be banned, or yesterday the Eden sessions pulled, which I was quite surprised about. So you never really know where all these things are going, but I'm like fucking more hyped for this than I was before, the Kneecap at 2000 Trees. I mean, a few months ago this was like the number one unmissable set of the summer, right? And now it's going to be like, the performances they do this summer are going to go down in history. They're going to play Glastonbury, and everyone's going to be like, holy fucking shit, this is unbelievable. It's going to be like the best thing ever. And then everyone's be like, well, where's the next 2000 Trees? So fucking come on.
It was bizarre. It's bizarre as well, because like 6-7 months ago when we just really started this podcast, and I said, oh, my friends were at the Kneecap. They look like they're blown up, and you're like, well, let's not get carried away, Gavin, about just how high they could go on the main stage. You know what I mean? He's like, but I don't want an agent listening and saying, oh, he wants a slot at the top end of the main stage. Here we are now, it feels like you've got this unicorn. It's like, fuck me, Kneecap feel like the biggest band in the world right now.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't joking when people were talking about them at the school gates. You just don't, like, in the context of normal people, at normal life, they never know anything about Trees or ATG or Damnation, no doubt. No one ever knows it. It's very niche, really, in its own way. But this is the fucking actual the mainstream. This is the news now, and like, we're going to be part of it. It's going to be the fucking set. This is not a sales pitch, but it's going to be unbelievable. And look, my opinion on Kneecap is that I kind of echo what you said, which is they're a hip hop act, right? It's part performance, it's part art, it's part like creation of controversy. That it's not new in hip hop to do that. It's supposed to be controversial and rebellious, just like a lot of metal is supposed to be controversial and rebellious. And just like we're not taking some of the fucking farcical extreme metal lyrics that are out there. True, you know, Cannibal Corpse, they wouldn't be allowed out of the house if you took all their lyrics literally. So I don't know. I'm actually lying in bed at night thinking about this, buzzing about it, because it feels exciting. It feels like dangerous, but not in a way I want to run away from it. In a way I want to run towards it and fucking take my top off and get in the fucking mosh pit. Dangerous.
Let's not forget. I mean, the guys singing about taking Rhino Kit as well. It's not like, I don't think they're trying to be your moral compass either. You know, I mean, these are their views that they hold. They're important to them, and yes, they're on stage, and this is a message that they want to get out. But they're not saying like this is everyone has to feel the way we feel or take it. I mean, as the first time I ever saw Kneecap, and I was talking about this podcast, what makes them so quite compelling is for everything they do, it's very much like United Ireland and the Free Palestine. There's also your sniffer dogs are shite, and there's also that big dollop of good humour and young guys having the fucking time of their lives in there too, which is an enjoyable experience, as opposed to just going on there and be like, I getting battered with it. This is their only message. So, 2000 Trees, Kneecap. I mean, I would be sickened if it got to the stage that it was taken out your hands in the sense of the decision still needs to be made by 2000 Trees, but if you don't follow the instructions of whoever's in that moment of power, be it the landowner, the local authority, whoever provides those licenses or land or the sponsorship or whatever it needs to be that keeps 2000 Trees an independent festival afloat and alive, then I'd be absolutely gutted. But I'm glad to hear that that's not. It doesn't look like it's going that way. You just don't want these snowball effect things that, you know what I mean. As you said, when it was what happened at Coachella is what's happened everywhere. And it just, as soon as it gets through the amplification of this fucking pesky Americans, then next thing you know, the rest of the world's following suit. We're getting sets cancelled in the UK when everyone knew exactly what had happened before all those shows were booked.
Yeah, look, I don't think that much else in the UK will get cancelled. If anything, I'll be amazed if Glastonbury I think Glastonbury would be a fucking. That would be a massive deal if Glastonbury got cancelled, right? It would be. It would feel like Glastonbury had sold out 50 years of fucking left-wing principles, really, if they did. It would be like the final death knell in their principles. I just don't think it's going to happen. I honestly think that all these shows will go ahead now in the UK, but the fucking news moves fast.
Something so jarring as well is like, it's tough to take serious when you see these like the Tory politicians, like they're like fucking skin puppets that have just been popped up in front of a camera. Who goes, the band, the Kneecappers, they need to be, they're bad. You're like, what happened? What happened before this interview happened? Someone came up to you and says, oh, by the way, there's a band called Kneecap and they say kill all politicians. How do you feel about that? Bad. Right, okay, good. Glad. Let's move on. So you're like, how oh, fuck. It's just jarring to listen to.
Yeah, well, the Labour letter that was written to Glastonbury, I think it was the letter to Glastonbury, was so badly written. It's just like, well, they might have done this and they might have done that, and therefore it would be a disgrace if you don't pull them off the lineup. It's like, you've done no effort here, you've done no digging, nothing. You've just fucking taken it at face value. Someone's told you to be outraged, so you're going to be outraged. So, yeah. And in this regard, we love a Tory bashing, but it's the Labour are just as bad. It's the moral outrage. Where I mean, I've got to be careful about straying into what I said I wouldn't do, which is politics.
I've got some notes.
I'm teetering on the fucking cliff here, Gav.
Yeah, I just watched Louis Theroux's documentary on the settlers. Like, I don't want to go there. I'm not going down that route. I'm not going to. This is about your experience as a Book of the Trees. I'm not doing that. But to wrap that up, unless there's anything else you're desperate to say about it, to wrap it up then. Growing up in the 80s in Glasgow, every single mum in the world says, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you, you wee bastard. I'm going to strangle. I'm going to wring your wee neck. That's what they say. You always hear everybody in the streets getting killed. Do you know what no mum ever did? She never went and got a fucking knife and stabbed her child. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just a turn of phrase. Sometimes it's just how you put things across. If I say you're going to have a smashing night, doesn't mean we're going to break shit. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just people getting carried away when you take. We did this a lot. I mean, I was for the folk only listening to this one podcast and then fucking off back to the next controversy. I was a journalist for 20 years and I covered a lot of quote. And you would get these things that would come in like people saying, and then he said he was going to kill him. I mean, like, that's a Scottish phrase. I'm going to kill you. It's a Scottish phrase. It doesn't mean I'm going to go get a fucking bomb. You know what I mean? So, to wrap that up in the bow, I'm quite happy to have a conversation about it, and I'm being honest, if they did stand behind the claims of the whole up the Hamas, I would have had a personal issue, my own moral issue with it, and I'm happy to have those conversations when they come up, but when we're just piling on Kneecap because it's the thing to do at the moment, it's the controversy of the moment, then it can get to fuck, and I'm looking forward to seeing them at Trees. And I'm being serious, Johnny. Let's get that show happening in the Hydro. July 9th. You don't even need to cut me in the profits, mate, but we're selling that bad boy out. Okay, James, let's have some fun with this podcast. What's happening?
Let's do it. What are we going to do? We're going to talk about news now.
What have you been up to this week that didn't involve Kneecap and death threats?
I'm just going to let you peek behind the scenes now. And tell, rather than doing a cut, let's just do a real thing. I can't get my laptop to fucking charge. There's always a technical issue every week, isn't there? It wouldn't be.
Well, that's fine now. Everyone who wanted to listen to Kneecap's left now, so we can just get back to our usual.
I'm literally got a fiddle with. I'm going to fiddle with my charger. Sorry.
Sorted.
Okay.
How was your week, James?
Mate, it was good. It's weird. It's weird just suddenly talking about normal stuff, isn't it? But
that weight right off the shoulders.
Look, it's the most nervous I've ever been since probably episode 1. Just wanting to not say the wrong thing and to get the point across correct. I hope we did that okay. I went for lunch with Tom Begley and Miles. That was nice. In the sunshine in Bristol. Good to see Tom. We've agreed that we need to do more touring together. So
Yeah,
let's
which
do
we
that.
are definitely going to do. Use it because you and Miles are the Kneecap promoter for Bristol, yeah?
Yeah,
Still? Or is that
yeah.
going to be, is that one that they're going to get too big, you won't have a venue to put them in?
Not at the moment. So we'll see. We'll see. You never know with these things. But yeah, we are the promoter. So it's pretty exciting, that is. And you know that their agent. I think we might have talked about this before, but when I used to manage bands, he was the agent for one of those bands for Jim Lockie and the Solemn Sun. So we know each other really well. So yeah, it's cool to be the promoter for a band. They're going to be our biggest band that we promote. They probably already are. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And it was really nice to see Bagley. And my main bit of news this week is that I took Kit, who is 6, to see the Manic Street Preachers.
Sorry, Kit.
And it was really good. The booking agent sorted me some fucking incredible seats on the first floor of the balcony in the middle at the front, which I wasn't expecting. It was really good. We managed 14 songs of a 24 song set, which for a 6-year-old I think is pretty good. We left at about 10 o'clock because he was I think he was starting to hallucinate with tiredness. It was. He really enjoyed it. We stayed until they played "Design for Life," which is what I was trying to get to, because that's like the centerpiece of pretty much every Manic's live set, and they literally filled the venue with confetti. Which if you're like me and you've been to see Rammstein, it's like okay, cool, whatever. But if you're 6, it's fucking awesome. They just like blasted. Everyone's standing up and singing at this point because it's the song they all know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was young in that room. It's an old crowd now. The first time I went to see the Manics was in '94, 30 years ago. So I was like 15 or 16. So if you think about it, at that point, there would have been 25, 30-year-olds in the audience. So those people are now fucking pushing 60.
So what's the situation with Manic Street Preachers anyway? Are they? Have we not discussed this? Are they not a 2000 Trees band? Are they just too old at this point? Because you seem like kind of guy that's got an ego just to drive that through.
We have discussed it. I think they play all these like indie festivals, and that puts me off booking them. I don't really like having bands that cross over too much. Like Idols cross over, Manic Street Preachers cross over. There's been a bunch over the years at Trees. Nothing But Thieves is another one, because it means they're at a lot. You know, if you book Don Broco, you know they're not going to be they might be at Slam Dunk and Download, but they're not necessarily crossing onto headlining these other festivals. Whereas, or Alexis on Fire, I mean, they're just not doing it. Taking Back Sunday, they're not doing it. I mean, of course, Kneecap crossover, it's a different thing. But I just think the Manics is just, like I said, the crowd are fucking 55. They're old, and in the context of the 2000 Trees audience, I'm old as well. So I just don't think it's quite right. I love them so much. I mean, so the set was really good. It was very heavily focused on the Everything Must Go album, which is the 4th album, which is not my favourite era, but they played a couple of fucking crackers in there, and Design for Life was amazing. So Kit keeps asking me when we're going again. So that the only reason I did it is for that, basically. It's like if I can get, it's like you taking your son to Celtic. It's nice when your kids like the stuff you do. It's not essential, and it's not always going to be the case, and you can't really manufacture it too much. But if they like it, then it's a pretty cool thing to be able to share together.
And don't go too early, because I did try that whole trick when I went to Celtic Hearts semi-final, but he had to be green and white jester hat on at like 4 or 5, and he lasted like at 19 minutes, and he was just like, let's get me the fuck out of here. We actually had to go out through the Hearts fans, because obviously at that point all the exits are shut, and I just remember the Hearts fans like, why the fuck is there a wee guy in a jester hat, green and white, trying to leave the stadium? So I'm with you. And now look at him, he uses my season ticket every second week, the wee prick.
Yeah, you have got to be careful. You're right there, getting it too early. I was 8 when I went to see Man United for the first time, and I think that's probably about as early as you can go, but we'll see. So that was really cool. I've done a bunch of Arctangent 2026 booking this week. Remind me, and I'll send this to you in private. I've got put together a list of, I sent it to you before. It's a list of all the Arctangent big bands and how many tickets they can do in Bristol. and I've updated it. If you can imagine, it's like I'm not doing this in order, but I mean, I'm just pulling these bands off the top of my head. But it's like Sleep and Brutus and Chelsea Wolf and Cult of Luna and Zeal and Ardour and Sun and all those sort of Arctangent, Meshuggah, Arctangent bands that have come through Bristol, and how many tickets each one can do. And there are some fascinating disparities in there. Of like, fuck me, that band are much bigger than you think, and fuck me, that band are much smaller than you think. I'll send you the updated list. It's good.
It's such a booking agent's nightmare. Firstly, you've got access to that information, and secondly, you're trying to assess your offers on the basis of Bristol, which makes complete sense, given it's in Bristol. And I do a lot of my offers based on the crowds that I see in Glasgow, which, albeit isn't Manchester where I promote, but still isn't the typical, we're only deciding everything that's going on with what happens in London and London sales, and then how they can orchestrate and manipulate those sales to be what they want, with stronger support, or pretending the forum's sold out when it's only half sold out, or going to smaller venues and pretend they're sold out as well. So it's an interesting way when you go back to an agent and go, oh, but this is what they've done in Bristol, and they must be like, who gives a fuck about what happened in Bristol?
Yeah, they're like, we should be a headliner. And I'm like, well, that band is fucking second from top. They're happy. And they sold 500 more tickets than you. So what the fuck are you talking about? There's a lot of this just like, it's a name. I mean, there's some bands that are really punching higher than you'd think. So anyway, it's pretty interesting. And it felt good to start Arctangent 2026 booking.
Yep, and let me know who you've got as well, so I'm not fucking wasting my time chasing agents that I'm not telling me that you're already playing Arctangent.
Yeah, okay, well, you can have access to the spreadsheet as far as I'm concerned.
And I'll tell you, the band that we've almost booked for 2026 was a fucking... In fact, I'm half expecting them to be in your list and me going, this is a pain in the arse. This is a problem, James.
Well, you should tell me who it is and I'll leave them alone. And then the other thing I've done this week is, because fuck me, it's the 30th of fucking April today. And shit's got real. The festivals are definitely coming, and I can't. We're now almost at the snowballs off down the fucking mountain, and you can't stop it. So, you best get fucking moving. So I had a catch up with Neil, who, if you remember last year, is the guy when I'm at Trees on my own for a week, or more or less on my own for a week. Neil's there with me, taking the fencing deliveries and all that sort of stuff. So we've kicked that off, which made me feel my brain just clicked into a new. It's just like a different mode of like, oh yeah, I remember what I do. That because most of the year you're not doing that, and now it's like, okay, right, production time. So then I had conversations with fencing, trackway, pit barrier, stage decking contractors to really like finalise the numbers and the amounts and how much we're getting ordered, when are the marquees going to be delivered, all that sort of good stuff again. So it's such a weird fucking job. It's like you got all week keeping an eye on Kneecap, and then you're booking for a festival that's in fucking sort of 15, 16 months time, and sorting fencing for a festival that's in 2 months time, and it's like just trying to work out what is the fucking job you should be doing at any one time is impossible.
When you know the priority is supposed to be the podcast.
Mate, well, fucking hell, yeah. Particularly, I mean, today's one was. I've spent a lot more time prepping today than ever before. So that's my week. It's been a fucking week and a half. But
yeah, and I don't know if you got a chance before you got to pub, but we've got an offer in place. Well, not an offer in place, but like an outline for a show in Christmas, which we won't go into the details of. But that's. I mean, when I'm joking about the podcast, but almost like half joking, because it's like better make a decision in the next couple of weeks what we want to do if we are going to go into a Christmas show as well. So, it's a lot.
It is a lot. What's your week look like?
Do you know what? I never gave it too much thought. I was like, fuck the whole Kneecap situation. I knew we had to get the clashes. For the Clashfinder for Trees, so I better not waffle on too much. I will make the point of, I listened to that Machine Head record because you told me that you were gonna ask about it, and it was, I don't know. You know what? Machine Head stopped being a thing to me through the Ashes of Empires, which is an absolute banger in an album. So it starts with Imperium and then ends with, as it turns to grey or whatever. The entire album's great, start to finish. And then I went a different direction musically. And it's like, you know, like you get that uncle you always liked, that Uncle Peter at the wedding, and like, he was always a wee bit handsy, but he gave you money and sweets and like, and then you find that later, that he touched kids, and you're like, it just ruins your whole memory of Uncle Peter, that lovely guy who was just like to slap you in the arse a wee bit too often, and that's how you doing this to me, Machine Head, makes me feel. You're ruining my memory of what I had, and now I'm sitting through this fucking unatonement, which is, I mean, it's just so fucking generic. It's child metal, isn't it? It's just like if you asked AI to record you an American metal album, it would give you unatoned or unatonement or whatever it's for. I mean, there was at one point the lyrics were like, I don't know, lay me down, bring my crown, I'll be your boss or something like that. And I was like, what the fuck am I listening to? This is just gang chants of the worst. So, I mean, at points, there was some riffs in there, bits so you could nod your head along to, but like, 43 years old, why the fuck am I listening to this? So that was my review of the Machine Head album.
Do you want my review quickly before you move on?
Yeah, go for it then.
I mean, I suspect that everything you said is right. I've listened to it twice and I've got nothing from it. But I do in some ways hate giving opinions on albums because I don't like people that give opinions on the Miles Walters album after 2 listens. I feel like I should really go in on Machine Head for 3 weeks and then slate it. It feels bad to slate it, but I can't fucking bring myself to go in on it for 3 weeks because I think like you say, I've moved on. I don't like meat and potatoes metal, and they didn't used to be a meat and potatoes metal band, but I think they are really now. So yeah. Massive.
Why would you? I mean, you're trying to. I mean, I know you're trying to force yourself to like the Mars Volta record, but I mean, there's a point to that you like that band. You're a bit like, it's not going to be Through the Ashes Empires. It's not going to be The Blackening. So you're a bit like, okay, well, if it's not, and the last few records haven't been that, then just let it be. The upside of my musical journey this week is I was listening to Spotify on Shuffle, and it was a band called To Be Gentle. You ever heard of the band To Be Gentle?
No.
Neither had I. And they came on. It was a great mix of screamo, post-hardcore, elements of post-metal, but blackened shoegaze. I love that kind of shit where you just get a good old fucking melting pot of metal soup, and it tastes great. And I was like, at one section it came on, it's this like soundscape at the back, like a guitar. You know, my favourite thing about post-metal and post-rock's that sort of like that cascade of waves, that same sort of riff coming over and over again. And it reminded me of Devil Soul de Soul, which is a band I haven't thought about in so long. I mean, I was such a big Devil Soul de Soul fan back in the day when Darkness Prevails came out, and then the fucking masterpiece of Fragile Hope. In fact, I went back to Darkness Prevails because I was a young journalist at the time when that came out. It must have been 2004, 2005. And I even recall somebody had get in touch and said, look, there's a guy's fallen off a roof and he's just been taken away in ambulance. Don't know if he's dead or not. So I was away in the car trying to find out where this guy was from and find his family. And I'd been told, oh, by the way, that's the family there, but they're no in, they must all be away up to the hospital. I said, fuck it, I'll just wait until we come back. So I sat in the whole time, maybe 2 hours, waiting for this guy and his family to come back, listening to Darkness Prevails with the notes, like the lyrics. And even when I went to listen to Like It's Your Last, which is an absolute 10 out of 10 track, Like It's Your Last, it's a cracker. I remember at the time reading the lyrics, and the vocals were done. I mean, the mixing is weird as fuck because the vocals are done like a black metal record. It's like you've got the guitars and drums and that, and then you've got some black metal singer in the forest squealing away. It was always a bit weird the way it was done, but that track was absolute class. I went, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to go back to A Fragile Hope, and it's every bit as brilliant as it was when it was first released in 2006, 2007. Actually, I was surprised with how well it's stood up in the test of time, because sometimes you go back to bands like Boy Hits Car or Dry Kill Logic or Spineshank that you loved in the early 2000s phase, and you go back and you're like, that's pretty fucking ropey, whereas this was absolutely incredible. I mean, the album finished like this. It's the coroner into Hope, which is an utter banger, like It's Your Last. Aye, and I just wanted to come and say, like, Devil Soul de Soul, one of these bands that bounced about. We had them on in 2007, and then they pulled out very late in the day. I think the vocalist Ed ended up with laryngitis. Booked them back in for 2008, played the small stage, and then we had them in 2012, in the main stage, and they attract a crowd. But they're one of the bands that I always felt was somewhere between Cult of Luna and Envy, and should have been in tour with Cult of Luna and Envy and Amon Ra. And for whatever reason, maybe they felt they are more suited to Ghostfest and Bring Me a Horizon and Architects and Parkway Drive.
Yeah.
And when you listen to that music, you listen to Fragile Hope, like you put Architects, Parkway Drive, Devil Wears Prada in a room for 10 years, they could never write you a Fragile Hope. In a million years, they couldn't write that music. But Devil Soul aligned themselves with that, aesthetically looked like that. Saw them at Download one time, and the guitarist was doing spin kicks and like fucking shots, and they really went for that aesthetic. And when you do that, sometimes it just doesn't click with an audience like Damnation. And they went on that journey, and that's a bit of a shame. I always felt like I could try and force them to be a Damnation band, and they were clearly trying to be a Ghostfest band. But aye, that's a completely unprompted wee trip down memory lane with that Devil Soul, who you've had at plenty of your festivals, haven't you?
They played at the first 2000 Trees, mate. You know, after we forgot to order Pit Barrier, it was that I had to go backstage and brief them to fucking not incite fucking chaos. And they were like, "We think you'll be okay, don't worry." And they were right, it was fine. But they played a bunch of times at both festivals. I really like the album that follows the one you're talking about. It's Blessed and Cursed, I think.
Right.
I used to be a really big fan, and I think you hit the nail on the head there. They were basically a post-metal band that kind of got lumped in with the wrong scene, and that might have hurt them. Because with fans that like post-metal, for instance, those sort of genres, you want to know that they're one of yours. Sometimes you can be a bit like, oh, I don't know. There's some bands like, say, Employed to Serve. They started off as like a mathcore band, and then their last album was like proper fucking commercial metal album. So it can sometimes jar with the more beard strokey fans. I think if they're not sure if you're one of them to a certain extent.
It shouldn't, right? Because you shouldn't be like, I love the sound of Devil Soul, and I knew that they were into that. I mean, I've got nothing against a pair of shorts and a sort of despised icon style basketball t-shirt. But I think when you're listening to Hope, it does jar with you. Like visually, it's like you go and see Mogwai and they're in corpse paint and spikes and running about the stage like with plastic swords. You can be like, something's not right about this whole dynamic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm listening to We're Not Here, this fucking post rock classic, but they're running about the stage like somewhere between Freedom Call and 1349. It would just, they're supposed to be in check shirts, staring at the floor, being bold as fuck for whatever reason. It's just one of those things, and that Devil Soul definitely did have that, as I say, somewhere between Cult of Luna and Envy, yet were on stage more like a Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
Parkway Drive.
Well, I mean, you are the singer who listens to the podcast, right? He was at the Bristol show, wasn't he?
Was he?
I think so. I hope I haven't imagined that. Ed, I'm pretty sure I didn't see him.
Yeah,
but...
because I don't. Here's another thing. I'm fucking wax lyrical with this band, and I don't really know the history beyond a Fragile. Cause I think I did hear Blessed and Cursed, and then at that point I sort of fell away for whatever reason. I did go back and listen to the last record, Loss. There's a different vocalist on it. I think Ed's back, but there's a different. This
yes.
isn't. This. Say that again.
So a different vocalist replaced Ed. And then Ed came back, and they were both in the band. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So there was two.
But the new vocalist, this isn't like a dig at the guy, but it sounds like it's like pop punk vocals. It's like it's like Newfound Glory, like emo vocals over the same. It's not really post metal anymore, but it's still pretty clever, intelligent done music, and I quite enjoyed it. The vocals from the new guy took a wee bit to get used to, but otherwise it was still a good record. So I'm going to spend a bit more time. I just thought. I listened to it and I thought, you know what, that was as good as I remember. In fact, I thought it would be better than I remember. And I was like, I'm gonna give them a shout because if you like the kind of bands that I like, the kind of bands that I put on the record, then you will love A Fragile Hope. It is a fucking masterpiece of record.
Absolutely. So Ed, if you're listening, I think the email title should say A Fragile Hope in Full. Hi Gavin, I very much enjoyed listening to your... Gav can't resist an album in full set from an album he loves.
I'm not going to resist A Fragile Hope, for fuck's sake. Brilliant. So that was and to be gentle, I will be going back and investigating further on. But I didn't want to come on and shit Machine Head if I wasn't going to praise Devil Soul. So that's how my week panned out. We did have a super sub last week. John Gandy, I believe. I don't think he got in touch unless you saw the message and then just done what you always do and just moved on with your life.
Who knows? If I moved on, I don't know.
So, John, if you haven't heard last week's pod yet, you were the super sub that was picked out. Please get in touch and let us know what you like and rob us of. Oh, fucking hell. This week's a guy called Luke. Now, I will give away a wee bit your email address so we know which Luke it is. Humphrey. So, Luke, Humphrey, you're this week's super sub. Get in touch with us. Let us know what you would like. The Patreon has been going great. We did lose a few subscribers last week. I don't know if that's because you told everyone I had a big house. I'd like to clarify that. My house isn't small, but it's in Glasgow. You couldn't sell my house at full price and get a fucking flat in London, okay? Just because I've got a big house in London. I couldn't afford a car park space in London, so it's all relative to where you live in the country. And not a lot of money gets you quite a lot of property, relatively in Scotland. So don't listen to James. And I still very much appreciate your £4 a month in Patreon. Don't cancel. I am not rich. I am not a Tory. I saw merch. Talking of heroes, I hope that everyone went and filled their boots last week with the pod 10. I was back on there today, and like always, there is new shit every time I click on that site. They have created a 2000 Trees collection. So you click through in a band now, and it offers you the link to go to the 2000 Trees collection, and every band that's been announced for 2000 Trees is on there, and you can just go and buy their vinyl and their fucking hoodies and their shirts. It's incredible. So if you're a 2000 Trees fan, you're going this year, you want to get some new drip for it, go and check out their collection. Art Tangent fans, the new Pelican records on there. Damnation fans, the Pig Destroyer merch and vinyls on there. Bloodstock fans, there's a Saxon vinyl. And for the rest of the world, how's that funny? How's that funny?
You troll. Fucking hell.
What's wrong with Saxon? And for the rest of the world, there is 10 new Oasis t-shirts of all different colours and styles for $18.99. Use pod 10 and you can get 10% off. You get your Oasis shirt ready delivered to you for less than 20 quid. I saw merch. James, what's the name of the company?
Mate, I haven't stopped laughing about Saxon yet. Give me a second. The name of the company is Eyesore Merch. Eyesore Merch.
There you go.
Whew. That really got me.
Toys, tell me all about trees, mate.
Okay.
This pod was supposed to be about the trees Clashfinder. We are now 53 minutes in and we haven't mentioned anything about it, so let's talk trees.
Yes, so a couple of days ago we released the 2000 Trees Clashfinder on our new app from the wonderful Darren at Meliora. It's... I guess we'll just speak a little bit about how I put together the Clashfinder this year. But the main change at Trees this year is that the forest stage is now a normal stage, in that we used to cram bands into the forest stage. There used to be something like 18 to 20 bands a day. I think there was more than 20 one year. Really short changeovers, try and get as much music on as you can. And the crew kind of hated me for doing that. And we also used to have a relationship with a university that we had some of their acts on the forest. So that has now ended, that relationship. And so I booked the entire forest. In fact, this is the first time ever that the forest has been entirely booked by me. I don't know if people know that or not. But so we've made it a normal stage with normal changes. So what that means is the Clashfinder's gone a much more arc tangent now. It's like the main stage and the cave stage clash. The Axiom, the New, and the forest stages clash. And it's basically like, if you ever stood in the cave and you're thinking what's next, you know it will be at the Axiom, the New, or the forest. If you're stood in the Axiom, you know the next thing's the cave and the main. I feel like it. I used to find the Trees Clashfinder, because I act a bit like a punter at the festivals, as we've talked about. I go and see a lot of bands. I used to find the Trees Clashfinder a bit annoying. That the sets were overlapping all over the fucking place, and you could never really plan your day. You'd miss the start of stuff that you didn't mean to miss. Whereas now it's like literally, if you just want to watch a full band, you can just watch the full band in the cave and then just go to the Axiom and watch the full band. And the forest has now been swallowed into that. So it's very clean and tidy. And I just wanted to remind people that I fucking really care about the Clashfinder. I really care about not having stupid clashes. I spent about fucking many hours listening to every single band on the lineup and being like, do these bands sound alike? And then going through their Spotify for fans of and being like, even if they don't sound alike, do they have a crossover in audience? Are they, for some reason, these fans like this band? So we never get everything. I then send it to 3 or 4 other people for their comments. And at the end of the day, when you release a Clashfinder, there's going to be a couple of nasties in there that you hadn't thought about. So we'll talk about them later. The only thing that I really came up with when I was doing my checks is that because the way it works is that I book the lineup and then I do the Clashfinder. So you haven't really thought about who's clashing at that point. And I had La Dispute and Million Dead clashing. La Dispute in the Forest and Million Dead, and it just felt like that's going to be a fucking nightmare. People are going to go mad about that.
That would have been a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, so I actually had to say to La Dispute, because it's the second set that we added on, and I'd given them the nighttime slot in the Forest. I had to say to them, look, I can't force you to move here, but don't clash a Million Dead. Like and then if I bump you a slot earlier, you're clashing with McCluskey, so don't do that either. So that La Dispute were, in the words of their agent, they're pretty chill, so they were okay with it. We moved them a couple of slots earlier. I mean, it'd be quite cool now because you can watch Frank Turner in the Forest and then just stay in the Forest and watch La Dispute straight after. So that
means that day you can watch Frank Turner in the Forest, La Dispute in the Forest, McCluskey, and then Million Dead. So if you're into that music from maybe recorded 20 odd years ago, then this is a run for you.
Yeah, there's a good time to be had there. And so that's how I put together the Clashfinder. I didn't actually do the app. I did like a spreadsheet, and then I left Mitch and Darren from Meliora to do the app, and I thought they did a really good job. I had a look through it yesterday, and it looks great to me. Just quickly mention that we announced 2 new bands as well. Soapbox, who are a punk band from Glasgow, so I might ask you about them later, Gav, because I did send you the music, and a band called Baby Said, who are kind of pop rock band led by 2 sisters. So that's pretty much the lineup. I think there's going to be one more announcement next week of 3 or 4 bands, but don't quote me on the date. So look, clash-wise, I think the socials feedback was that it's probably less clashes than in most years, less angry people than in most years. There are a few that I'm just going to go through now that bothered people, and I think Saturday was the main problem. So people were complaining that the Cave clashes with the main stage on the Saturday, and they felt that because in some years we've had the Axiom clashes with the main stage one day, and then the Cave will clash the next day, depending on the style of music on the main stage.
Yeah.
So the main stage on Saturday this year is quite heavy, so maybe it shouldn't have clashed with the Cave, is what people are saying. But I would counter that by saying, did you want La Dispute to clash with Let Live? Because they would have if it had been the Axiom. So it's not simple. You just create yourself a load of new problems if you. I had thought about that, but the three clashes that people really don't like on that day is Birds in Row and Let Live. I asked you to say if there are any clashes that you didn't like, and I also wrote my own list. So before this was released, I wrote my own list, and the first one on it was Birds in Row and Let Live. So in some ways, this was the big one that people complained about, and in another, and also, I knew it was coming, I think.
Does it surprise you how? Because let's face it, Birds in Row coming to play Bristol, it's 150 folk there. I mean, an amazing band, an absolutely amazing band, French hardcore band for those who don't know, but not massive, and certainly not a kind of band where you'd be like, I need to choose now between them and Let Live. Now, it would have been a clash for me if Birds in Row weren't infinitely better as a band than Let Live. I would have a clash, but I don't, because Birds in Row are that fucking good. So it didn't surprise you that there was that many people really knew, because Birds in Row fell in your lap a wee bit, didn't they, with the whole election fire? You weren't actively going out there to book Birds in Row.
No, and it did surprise me a bit in how many people, but I wondered if those people were already into Birds in Row, or if they'd gone and started listening to the lineup and they liked Birds in Row. So I don't really know, and also stylistically, it's not really a clash. I don't think.
Not really. Probably types of fan. I mean, I get it. I get it. The type of people that would be into that type of music. Then
Yeah. So that one. I mean, just to be clear, much like last year, none of these clashes are changing. So I'm here to hold my hands up and say I agree, but not that it can change because I did look for a solution to this and without going into all the different things that could have happened, because you could have moved Birds in Row to a different stage maybe. I mean, there's all sorts you can do, but ultimately, Let Live are going to be second from top on the Saturday on the main stage. So the only options you've got are which stage clashes with it and which band that is. I just couldn't find a good solution, so that is the solution. The one that really blew my mind and I haven't got to the bottom of is Imminence and Alexis on Fire. So Imminence are like a metalcore band, right? They do not sound like Alexis on Fire, and they also do not sound like a band that would have any crossover with Alexis on Fire's fans. I got myself in a panic last night where I had to go and listen to Imminence because I thought I'd fucking done something stupid and got... I'm like,
band.
how? Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck? What have I done here? So I don't know. I thought I'd done something mad maybe, but I
It's just
haven't.
heavier behaviour, isn't it? In a field of your poppier punk acts and your I mean not indie band but your rock bands, and then you've got Eminence and Alexis on Fire are more of your heavier. I mean Eminence are certainly a lot heavier than Alexis on Fire, but still I get it without being. I wouldn't have thought anyone was that worried about it, but it's kind of too bad. I would go and check out both bands on the night. I will probably go see Alex and Fire because it sounds like it's going to be a special show. But I mean, if Eminence had been at any other time of the day, they are the type of band that I'd have popped my head in and watched and probably enjoyed.
Yeah, and look, Alexis are on for 90 minutes, so if you really wanted to watch a bit of Imminence, you can. I think, for me, you know, you offer bands headline slots, right? Imminence are offered a headline slot on the Cave. So there was always going to be a bit of that, like, either if people like the band, you know when you're coming to the festival and Iron Maiden are headlining it, you kind of hype yourself up to watch Iron Maiden even if you're not an Iron Maiden fan. So there's probably a lot of people who've gone and checked out Alexis on Fire maybe, and they weren't really expecting Imminence, who they're there to see more, to clash with them. I don't know. I'm just like guessing.
Yeah.
I can't believe that all these people before Trees had been announced liked both those bands, but maybe.
And how about a shout out to Harriet? I mean, what a fantastic slot for those guys. I mean, just an amazing young UK band. How did the headline slot come about for them?
I mean, they were second from top, and I was just shuffling budget. But basically, some festivals have a policy where each slot counts for a certain amount of money, whereas I don't do it like that. I just shuffle the budget around. If I spent more on Million Dead on that day, for instance, then I'll spend less on the headliner in the Cave on that day, maybe. And it just got to the point where I was like, I need to bump Harriet up, and I just asked them, do you want to do it? And it was like, yeah, of course we do. So, and they have to go up against the main stage headliners. It's not a small thing to do. Some people complained about Harriet versus Taking Back Sunday, but it's not a clash, really.
No, it's not a clash. I mean, I think I put in my notes sort of the worst clashes for Gavin James. Well, we can get to that, but then firstly, I want to know the real clash. Two promoters, one pod versus who?
So we are on stage at 5:15 on the Saturday on the Word stage. So the Word stage will be added to the Clashfinder. We want to announce the comedy first and the kids stuff. So we clash with. Do you actually know this or not? You do know this.
No.
We clash with Employed to Serve.
No. What?
Right.
Who else?
Kevin Devine, who's on the list of acts I sent you. You should check out. You might like him. And Anxious. So look, at the end of the day, 3 o'clock on the Saturday, you're going to clash with someone good. You can't. 3 to 4 o'clock on the Saturday, you're going to clash with someone good. Mate, I wouldn't fucking worry. The tent was over full last year, and we've had a good year, so it'll be more than over full.
Worry. It's the man who's supposed to be enjoying Employed to Serve at that time.
No, you're not. You're going to be having a way. You're going to have a way better time chatting to me. The cool thing about our set is that I took. Do you remember I took Kit to a birthday party and there was a rock band playing, and I now booked them for Trees because Kit was moshing, and I booked them to do a kid-friendly mosh pit set. So we're on stage straight after that. So our kids will be there in the mosh pit, I'm hoping. I'm sure Charlotte will love it.
Employed to serve, James. Of all the, you've got, well, how many bands? 150 bands, and maybe let's call 6 of them metal, like traditional metal bands. And you Clash, the Damnation organizer, the guy who booked Employed to Serve to play his event last year, to clash with one of those 6 bands.
Yeah, you've seen them. That's what I thought. I mean, we see if you move late, we could do the next slot, and then you're just against even bigger bands. So you could move days, but you know it's not that I haven't thought about this, to be honest. In fact, I moved fucking. Who did I move? Let me tell you. I moved because I really wanted to see. So I wasn't. The thing is, Gav, I wasn't thinking about your clashes. I was thinking about my clashes, and I'm just looking at the spreadsheet now. I moved. Oh no, because we would have been clashing with Future the Left, which I was just not going to do. We would have been clashing with Sparta, which I was not going to fucking do. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm being dragged to your whims at your festival, basically. Just accept it that you're the guy with the power in the Clashfinder. So what I just need to do as I'm told.
Yeah, you've got the power when we play Damnation. It'll be you then. So there's a couple of other clashes I just wanted to quickly go through. So. Sprints versus Black Foxes versus As December Falls, all on the Saturday, all excellent British rock bands, but they deserve these headline slots. They got offered these headline slots, so they're getting them. I don't think stylistically it's a clash, so it is what it is. Coheed and Cambria and Frontiera. Now I did wonder if people would, because there aren't many Arctangent bands on the Trees lineup, and there's 2 clashing. And I did wonder if people. There's certainly bands that I would want to see, both of those bands. But Coheed are playing a long set. You can Frontiera. Fucking hell, it's a lot.
Did you get much pushback from it?
Yeah. Quite a few people mentioned it. But I just think once you get up high up the lineup, people don't like the clashes. Like they didn't like Kneecap against Stick to Your Guns. I mean, they're both stage headliners, and musically there's no crossover. What the fuck do you want me to do? So look, I think really the conclusion is people weren't as angry as they have been in the past about the clashes. We've done our best, and nothing's going to change. So what did you have? Was there anything that bothered you, or you? I feel like it might be less of a Gav. It might be less of a Gav friendly lineup this year. I'm not sure.
But there's something quite interesting about that, like being able to come down. I mean, I got to catch so many great bands, artists last year that I knew nothing about, and I enjoyed that. I go to an event like Arctangent or Dunk Festival or Download, and 90% of the bands that I'm seeing either know exactly that I've seen them before. There's very few artists in that sort of heavy rock and metal festival that I'm going, post-rock festival that I'm going, and I don't know anything about. Last year at Trees, I was just wandering from stage to stage, and some of it was Mimi Barks.
Yeah,
it was one of them. It was absolutely fantastic. Who was Cody Frost? Absolutely fantastic. It was class. So I'm a bit like, I'm putting my same blind faith in the system. I mean, plenty of bands that I do want to see, that I'm looking forward to. Meryl Streak, Kneecap, the run that I'll tell you about in a second. So the only clash, it was a bit like, that is something I definitely want to see here yet. Now, do I like Taking Back Sunday or not, is the question. Now, I think I've got a sound in my head of what Taking Back Sunday sound like, because I saw them in Kerrang TV or something. But I'm obviously not that invested that I've ever went and checked Taking Back Sunday out. So that will be a clash if I like it. In my head, I feel like I do like Taking Back Sunday, but I just don't know anything about them yet. So I'm going to listen to them, and then that would be a clash, but not one I'm going to get myself worked up about. I mean, I'm more worked up about 2 promoters, 1 pod clashing with Employed to Serve than I am with Harriet and Taking Back Sunday. And if you'd clashed Million Dead with La Dispute, I would have been pretty gutted. They are definitely 2 of the bands that I'm definitely going to go and see, and you have to choose between them would have been tough.
Yeah, it would. What's your plans? Do you actually know what your movements are going to be? Do you think you'll be able to make the whole thing, or? I'm
making the whole thing. I mean, I'm locked in for it. In fact, I stopped a family holiday getting booked because of Trees and Arctangent. So we need to do something. My brother's stag do sort of at the end of, it's quite problematic because you get Trees at the second week in July, Then Kelly's 40th that I was supposed to be organising some sort of trip for. Stuart's stag do, and then last weekend in July, and then there's just quite enough time before that tangent starts. So I'm trying to squeeze something in it, but I will definitely be there for the full duration of Trees. And I mean, I don't know, at the minute we're looking to try and get a motorhome or something like that and just drive down and do it that way because we're going to bring the kids. So I haven't got that all worked out, but we'll be there for it all. Because I mean, just before I came on here, actually, I got a message from a video from Meryl Streep. I know the guy's name, but I don't know if that's he's in Slipknot or something. I don't know if you're supposed to know his name. So we'll just call
I don't know his name.
We'll just call him Meryl Streep, right? So I got a message from him, and it was basically the next development of his live set. And I was like, fuck yes. So that will be. I think he's got a couple of shows before Trees, but it's happening at Trees for both his sets. So I'm a bit like, yes, here we go. Meryl Streep.
Amazing. Send that to me. I don't know what you're talking about. I like the sound of it.
They are. He's going to be. They're going in the right direction. It's got to be class. It'll be the next the evolution of the live show, which is going to be great alongside the fucking incredible music. So I think there's big things in the pipeline for Meryl Streep, and I'm excited about it. And he seems very fucking excited about it. So he's doing the Wednesday, so definitely catch that. And then the best run of bands from what I looked at the Clashfinder, because there's a couple where you get a couple bands in a row where I like, and then a lot of stuff I don't know. But on, I think, the final day, you get Soapbox, the Glasgow punk band. They've got a track called Yarda, which is the best track ever. And then was it Fascist Bob. I've only listened to 4 or 5 tracks. The Fascist Bob and Yarda were two absolute crackers, exactly what you expect. So angry Glaswegian punk, absolutely love it. Future of the Left, only on your word, really. Good. They could be utter dog meat.
No, they're
incredible. And I could take every second. I am putting all of this on your shoulders, which is quite questionable given the kind of shit you talk about music. But you've been so big into Future of the Left. I am going with you to see them. Pest Control, followed by the two I'm very, very excited about. La Dispute, Into Birds and Row. That is a fine run of bands.
That is a beauty. That is, yeah, I like that.
What about you personally?
So for me, actually, the one before I tell you, the only other clash that I was upset about myself is that Coil Guns and Frank Turner overlap slightly, which is fucking annoying. So I will be watching the start of Coil Guns and then legging it to Frank Turner. I think that Frank Turner set is basically booked to myself, so I'm going to watch all of that probably. Best run of bands is, I mean, Wednesday is fucking. I think the Wednesday feedback when we released the Clashfinder, even though there's no Clash, has been amazing. It's like I think someone said it's the best day in 2000 Trees history, or the 2000 Trees modern history. I don't know what that's like a backhanded compliment. Like, it used to be better, but this is the best you've done for a while.
This is what we'll accept now. For the new Metallic albums, it's as good as it gets in modern history.
Exactly, it's exactly that. So there's a run there where you can go with a 5-minute gap between each band. Unpeople to Other Half to Blood Command to Meryl Streep. I think with no break, that'd be fucking great. Literally, buy a beer, run to the next one. There's nothing. I'm all Unpeople at 2000 Trees is just a good time. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then on Friday, you can do McCluskey into Coheed with a few songs of Frontiera during Coheed. I'm going to do, for Coheed, I'm going to do exactly what I did at ATG, which is look at their set list before they go on stage and make sure I don't miss my favourite songs, because there's a couple of world beaters. One of them I put on the record, and I don't want to miss those. But I will. So McCluskey, Coheed, bit of Frontiera, and then Million Dead that's almost more hits than I can fucking handle in one go. That's a lot. I feel like I'm going to collapse after that.
While we have the Trees audience tuned in, is there anything different happening at Trees this year? Is it copy and paste from the setup last year that worked so well?
Yeah, there's some tweaks. But it's largely speaking the same thing. All the stuff you love. So in the next month, we're going to announce our comedy. We're going to announce our food. We're going to announce our kids' activities and our podcast stuff. And silent disco. So the live silent disco stuff will be back. Just haven't finished booking it yet. So it's going to be more of the same but better. I think is basically how I would. I feel like this is primed to be a classic Trees. It feels like I'm really happy with the lineup. So yeah, feels like a good one.
Fantastic. I am absolutely buzzing. I've been singing the praises a bit of Trees since I went down last year. I keep forgetting I was only there for 2 days before I had to fuck off to Mexico. But
I'm actually quite scared about you doing all 4 because I felt like it was probably time for you to leave. You'd actually done 3 days, hadn't you? Because it was quite. I'm guessing you won't manage that this year, but it was quite fun having you there on Tuesday.
yeah,
When we're all stressful and you're fucking in with the ciders.
Like, come on, let's party, people. It was no true that like there was a perfect thing that I was leaving the site as your wife was coming in, and it was like, right, you're like, right, we can be more sensible. I don't like to have this reputation that I'm the one somehow misleading you, because you're the guy who's still propping up the bar at 5 a.m. I always die. You see what I like when I don't get sleep. I cannot function as a human, whereas you can just go again and I can't. So I would say in a lot of situations you're the one dragging me astray.
Yeah, well, I intend to do that. Did you notice Hidden Mothers are on at 11 or 11:30 in the morning?
Fucking hell, man.
I did that.
Why?
You.
Was that just like to make sure we're up and awake for the podcast?
Yeah. It's all good. It'll be fine.
Okay, it will be fine. Okay, let's not do, but we're an hour and 15 now. Let's not get into questions, because if we add another 40 minutes on it and the rest of it's just going to be another absolute epic, and they're not supposed to be as long as they've been. So, questions, pinning them for next week. We will do a shout out to our good man at Lowe's Brews, and then you can hit us up with an on the record. I hope you went with a Trees suggestion, because that's the brief. So, Lowe's Brews this week, something new happened. First time ever, I never had one of these sauces. I had these pineapple jam.
Yes.
Oh my god. Bagel, cream cheese, bacon, slathered in the pineapple habanero jam. Fucking brilliant. Loved it. So, I probably haven't, I don't think I've tried any seasonings, these rubs, anything. I've been a fucking tunnel vision in the hot sauces. If the rest of these stuff's as good as this jam, then I need to get myself involved in that. That was the good news about the week. The bad news of the week is we had to say farewell to 3 bottles in the same night. The Piper, Piri, Winnie the Loo, Lord of the Wings, all done on the same night between the family. We had a wee memorial at the end. We put the plastic bottles in the plastic recycling and we said goodbye to them. Lou's teasing me that there might be some other bottles coming, but they haven't arrived, and I'm me and my son keep checking the door every time the fucking postman comes. He keeps calling it a mystery box. We've got a mystery box coming, so aye.
I've got a mystery box coming as well. I got an email saying.
See, you keep me. I don't know why you. There's so much. I was talking to Dragged Into Sunlight the other day, and I was talking to the guy about the episode, and he was well chuffed with your fucking comment. Maybe they just don't give a fuck, right? He was banking on this fucking maybe they just don't give a fuck, right? So, and I said, "Where's my box set?" He goes, "Oh no, it's coming. We'll send James one too." And I'm like, "Why are you sending James? James is fucking."
James would love one.
Then a Celestial Buds. Or for sending Gav a nice fucking first pressing or a print, we'll send James one. Lou's Brews. Oh, but the guy who's like all these ad reads and is like so genuinely love my product. I'll just send James one. You don't need to send James. You don't need to. You can just give him to me, okay? So, that you just reminded me that fucking how the hell are you ended up with a Hatred for Mankind box set?
Mate, you got me excited there. If that's true, fucking yes.
It will be true. I am sure of it. So, Lou's Brews, back to that. Pod 10, 10% discount on all your sauces. Over the next couple of weeks, I am going to do a top 5 of the barbecue ones, or a top 5 of the sauces that have no spice in them. So if you're listening to these adverts each week and you're a bit like, aye, all sounds great, Gav, but I cannot take any spice, burns the tongue off me, I am going to let you know the best sauces that you can buy that have zero spice to them, and then also the best sauce you can get by that work best for a barbecue, because that's all I'm going to do. 22 degrees outside in Glasgow, so like fucking our hot summer ever, and I am going to have lots of barbecues while that weather continues. Pod 10 if you want to get involved in that action. On the record, Mr. Scarlett.
Great. I have chosen the band Eyes, and the song by Eyes is called Better. They're playing 2000 and Dark Tangent this year, so they are kind of like a heavy Every Time I Die crossed with the Bronx, I guess, but heavy heavy. Loads of people in Bristol that I sort of am friendly with really like Eyes, even though Eyes, if you look at their streaming, they're quite an underground band, but people get very fucking excited about them. So playing 1 p.m. Saturday in the Cave, which will wake us all up to say the least, before we do our podcast. And I think you'll probably really like them. You should check them out. They're fucking ace. It's fun, but it's heavy. So yeah.
I will check them out, James, because that's the kind of guy I am, and I'm invested in this podcast, and you're a co-host that I value his opinion. So when you say check out a band, I tend to go and do that, whereas I'm going to ask you, have you checked out Oryx? And the reason I ask you that live and early is because I know you're going to say no, because you're fucking useless. You're absolutely useless. I tell you, this is a band that you will love. It's everything. It's stamped with James Scarlett. If you'd found it first, you'd be waxing lyrical about it, telling the whole fucking world. I've told you now for a week and a half, and what are you going to be nodding along to say, what, I was listening to Manic Street Preachers?
I'm putting it on my list now. I'm going to listen to them, I promise. And then if you ask me next week, you'll get a review.
You're going to forget, and I'm going to ask you again. You're going to sit there like a fucking schoolboy that's not brought in his homework.
No, test me.
Okay. Anyway, I am going with the aforementioned Birds in Row, and the track I'm going to choose is I Don't Dance from the record previous to when it came out. I love this band. They are. I went to see. Well, I've seen them a bunch of times, but I went to see them at Art Tangent quite early in the afternoon, and before I knew it, I was taps off and going over the barrier, and I had no intention. I was no place to be going. I was stinking hangover, wanted to just sit at the back and enjoy it, and before I knew it, I was going over the barrier. There's so much energy, angry, fast, politically driven, French, hardcore punk. It's short, snappy, pointy. This track, there's something about music, I like it when you get a crescendo in the music, when it seems like the artists have lost control of their vocals, their instruments, and it's all just fuck it, it's just so visceral. It's there, and there's a point to this when it builds up when I Don't Dance, when it gets to my favourite bit of any Birds in Row track, and I love this band. They should be so much bigger. They're probably exactly where they're supposed to be. The kind of band they're supposed to be. You say to them, like, have a free merch stall, and they don't bring merch. You say to them, make sure you charge the right price for a vinyl, and they say pay what you want. They're just that hardcore DIY punk ethic type of band. They probably don't want to be big. They would probably shun being popular. They are exactly where they are, and I fucking love them. I was quite surprised I hadn't put one of their tracks already on, so long overdue. And now that we'd spoken about that whole Devil Soul Soul thing, and the fact that Ed listens to the fucking pod as well, was in Bristol. You're sure? Or you think so?
Think so. I'm going to think so.
I will definitely, if I can see Hope or Like It's Your Last. Like It's Your Last is an odd one because the mix is so weird. Probably Hope then, or The Coroner. One of these fucking tunes.
I feel like we're in your brain now, Gav.
We're in our brain. Something's going to happen for Devil Soul next week. Yes, let's go. Fragile Hope in full at Damnation because the pod said so. And that, at a lovely wee hour and 20 minutes, we're going to get complaints about this, isn't it? People go like, that was too short.
Too short, mate.
They were supposed to be 25 minutes when we started. And then on 25 minutes, like, that's too short. I want my 2 hours and I'm never coming back. Patreon cancelled, you rich bastard. See,
Feels like we got through a lot. It was a thing.
We did. Don't cancel us. These opinions are just our own, okay? Stop fucking sending James and his team death threats. Let's start there. Bye.
Cheers.